What I'm stoked with is the amount of people that like, it's exactly what I want to try to get across. And then people are actually picking up on it, getting those little light bulb moments that I did hope.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
like a lightning storm.
So you'd done a few other courses and they just lacked the depth and the knowledge, you reckon?
Yeah. I also really like I'm a really applied learner, use stuff to really understand it and kind of like build. And that's why I think, you've got those all the creative courses afterwards. You can start seeing all the stars and things.
So yeah, what's your reason for like joining a course and like what were you trying to get better for and stuff like that?
I don't know, in my head I had this thing of, I was like anti-editing basically. I was just, because I was just really, all I ever saw when I went on Gram was these horrible pre-made filters and really artificial skies, everything that didn't really capture what I wanted. So I was I'm really against it. And then I met a mate of mine, so we're in a tech hub, and I met Jack Gray. And I'd just been to Sri Lanka, which is where my family's from, and I was kind of showing some of the shots I'd got. We just had a really long conversation. I think it was the first time we met. And he was like just showing me some of his stuff. Now he was the first photographer where I was like, wow, your stuff is absolutely just the style, everything about it. It was kind of like one of those moments where because then Jack just took me into Lightroom because he had his laptop lens. I was asking him like, how do you edit stuff? One of my other friends is also a photographer. And so he kind of taught me the really basic edit. I've never really satisfied with that because the basic edits, my photos felt a bit generic, they felt a bit formulaic, and they certainly didn't kind of give me the ability to really create the style I was after. Yeah, and then Jack kind of gave me this amazing insight into how much editing, I think it was his stag photo, or not stag photo, the little cow thing. He was like, there's all these radial filters, there's all this, and I was like, holy crap, that's what it looked like. and I'm not joking, I would have probably taken that photo and been a bit underwhelmed, and I do that all the time. If I'm out in the hills, I kind of take these photos and I'm underwhelmed, and then I was like, wow, how did I learn to do that? And he was like, check out this guy's channel. Started stalking your channel, just like, oh wow. And actually you were, again, even on your channel, I found that really informative. I mean, it got me interested. Then I went on to the course. It felt comprehensive enough to get me into it and really start applying some of this stuff. And then I went on the course. Well, I actually bought another course, spent a load of money on that. A little bit, okay, that was useful. I was like, I really need to learn how to do this properly, and that's when I kind of made the leap. For me, it just gave me a really different dimension in my photography, because I was thinking about how it's actually impacted the way I approach the whole thing. Just given me the ability to really place what I want in photo and kind of transform the way I actually approach shots as well. It sounds a bit weird, but so when I'm looking at a shot, so I mentioned we went out to Scotland. It rained on the last day. Traditionally, I would have been like, oh, this sucks. Dark in these woods, and my other half was kind of standing here, and there's this beautiful pool of water, and suddenly I could see how I would transform that in an edit. Like, these are 90% of photos I've just been like really unhappy with. Yeah, and it's awesome to just be able to these shots that just weren't in my vocabulary and then apply them.
I've had one other person say that they actually think about it when they shoot, and I was like, yes, because that's what helped me so much. Like, I know exactly where like the dark shadows would be and like what color would be in the midtones and the highlights and rather than have no idea how it will.
Before the course I've been like hunting for these unicorn moments, and the reality is because the unicorn moment happens after the photo is taken. That's how you make the shot. And it's obvious having done the course to me, but I really didn't realize how what is kind of an underwhelming shot when you take it in raw can be like amazing.
Some of my favorite photos is just me like going back like a couple of months later, having another look through, and then just the colors just work on that one, or it surprises you a lot of the time. most of the time.
And also the ability to kind of change the hue, or and the tone. And I've actually got my little color wheel that I can keep referring to it. But knowing how to actually change the feel and mood of, like, especially greens. Like, I love that kind of aqua-y green color where it's a little into the blue. You had like a little, it was like a little test almost. Add this and this, what color would it make? And I found that super useful.
Yeah, it really cemented it for me too, like making those quizzes. I was just like, why do I understand these things? Like, how do I put it into a lesson? It's quite hard because it's such a creative thing.
When you hear about speak to a successful business person, I'm amazing, there's some magic involved. Instead of just going, oh yeah, it's a bit of gut feel here and a bit of in here. Which to me is just like, yeah. You've distilled the formula. Yeah, to me, so it's understanding. It's if you can teach it properly and get it, then you understand it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the whole theme of it, the science of photo editing.
So yeah, I mean, that's why it was basically my sister's wedding. Even though she's really not that fussed, added to it, and it was like, okay, I gotta get this right. Amy, my other half, kind of for the first time printed out some of my shots as well. So that was kind of pretty awesome when you're printing stuff. So yeah, so that was kind of cool as well. Yeah, so I think one of the things was really understanding how precise curves could be. I conceptually knew about the S curve. In the, I forget what it's called, but where it's like basically you move all of them together. What I didn't realise is how, I always thought you had to use the kind of general sliders and maybe this S curve, and it just felt a bit formulaic. But then I didn't realise how significant, obviously, the RGBs, moving them around can change the entire feel, and not just contrast, because I always kind of thought, okay, this S curve is about adding a little bit of contrast, maybe changing the black point, etc. And I never really understood how it was different to essentially the sliders. And then that bit about the RGB curves, and then how you can use them to influence kind of essentially a whole channel or a whole color and really target a specific. Like there was that shot, one of the kind of indoor shots you were doing, and you basically made all the tones a little bit warmer and a bit woodier, and trying to use color balance or even split toning, which I kind of never found that successful. Always made it was too generalized. I always just thought basically got me back to that style where I just thought everything looked fake, everything looked crap. When now that I know about the RGB curves and how that they can influence a really specific part of the image, that was really deal breaker. Like that was it helps you create a much more natural, precise edit. And then if it looks wrong, then you're like, oh, okay, I know where to.
Keeping those blacks close to black and like those whites close to white, and then the majority of those tones in the mid-tones just like really helps it natural way.
Actually, that was a really useful, because like you say, you kind of, your brain is like, this doesn't look natural, but I didn't know why. Until you said keeping the blacks close to black and then the whites close to white. And then it's kind of this litmus test of, okay, it helps you understand some of the elements. And the other thing was, how you create that warmth, that glow in an image was useful. In the skies and things like that, and then how you can use the curves to kind of change the mood and the feel of that, and specifically working on a sky, for example. So I found that really useful. Yeah, I think the other thing that really helps me cement it is the creator courses, because I find, so when I did the course, I got a really good theoretical knowledge, but I'm a really applied learner. Being able to see different styles and then how you can actually create those styles, and then having the theoretical understanding. So it really kind of helps me understand, I don't feel like the course is just about theoretically I can understand Lightroom. It's about helping you actually get to the point when you can use it day to day and apply that stuff, and I really like how you structured it. And the other thing that was massive was just having, it sounds a bit naff, but the raw images, the fact that you have the raw images that you've got on screen. I did this course, and I'm not going to name names. They were like, I'll give you all these raw images. And it's basically BS. They do give you raw images, but they edit this beautiful photo on screen, and then they give you a different photo.
That's not...
Similar looking image.
It's not the exact.
Yeah, just like, you know, like, I don't know what it was. Yeah, so I was just kind of like, this is really not helpful if you're trying to learn, because then it's really difficult to match that and really understand. Whereas I think some of yours had actually some of the curves applied in it, which was useful, because then you could see, okay, these are your things that I could like copy that, use it as a reference. So I think the fact that you actually had the images that you were editing, try and emulate that's useful as well.
I think photographers are real protective of their photos. They're like, don't want you to have them for some reason.
It is, but I always, we've got a friend who's a super amazing cook. And she said, it's a joke because it's the same thing. Like if someone says, oh, how do you make that? Oh, you use a little bit.
Yeah, real vague.
Yeah, and you miss that one key and you never get it as good as yours.
Yeah. I've talked to some people about, I think 2 people I asked to be part of my course or something, and we got on the topic about they don't sell presets just because they know people will be disappointed and stuff like that.
Well, and it's also like, I quite like the bit, I've definitely not got to the level of mastery where I'm trying to make my own presets, but I think it was useful to, you go through the process of, you know, you're going to have to test this on different images, see if it actually works on lots of different images, and I thought that was useful. Everyone says, okay, you know, download my preset and you'll learn, but I don't think that's true, because I think it's just way too complicated to kind of infer a hell of a lot of time. Now, but having that theoretical base is really useful, because then you can actually use someone's presets and understand how you want to move them.
Yeah, now you understand it. It's way too complicated, yeah, that like the difference between HSL and curves is placing the color, and then HSL, like some people don't know that, and if you don't know that, you've got no shot at using someone's presets.
So can you give me like sneak peek into what's ahead? Like, do you think are there other areas that you're looking into?
I want to grow that guest editor section a lot, because I think it's a real easy way to add a ton of value. Like I pay them to be part of it, but it's a really good way to add a ton of value. And then I'm going to do quite a few videos dissecting these guest editors, explaining what's going on. Yeah, I think that will be super helpful. Just the color placement, like couldn't expect them to like go into detail and like why, like the level I do it. I will go in and further expand on some guest editors that I feel you might be missing some things, like all the commonalities between them. There's a few that have color palettes, and in every single one of them, it's the midtones that have the greatest color, and then if you've got 2 colors to choose between to put into the midtones, you choose the warm tones because they'll go better with skin tones and stuff like that. Expand the guest editor section to as much as I can. Really,
I think that's one thing that I know you already said it, is I just really appreciate that about the course. Even when you're watching a guest editor, it's hard you can see it, and that in itself is huge. But then trying to understand, you know, what's in their mind, why have they done that? I think that can help you understand that. That can help you create your own style, that can help you be more deliberate and, you know, choose all these little building blocks to make your own, you know, when you define that. So I find that, and your kind of search for like the why you're doing that, not just this is how, is super useful and powerful.
Trying to figure out how to incorporate more of that. I think at the end of one of the lessons, it was like a quiz. I was like, which image has 15 clarity and which image doesn't? More of that stuff, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then you can start seeing that stuff.
Training people's eye for it.
Yeah, and when you force someone to actually think about it, when it flips.
why would you say someone should go for my course rather than someone else's?
I just think it's the level of depth and detail into is massive, firstly.
Cool.
So if you just want to look at someone do it and kind of repeat it without a load of understanding, go on someone else's course. If you really want to understand something in depth so you can apply it and become creative, make your own shots, make your own style, 100% your course. It's the only one that has that much depth and insight into the thinking process. Also the raws, actually, I think are really have some of them where you've applied edits so you can reset it and then try it out yourself, and then the actual ones that you're demonstrating. The fact that you include the creators' raws as well, I was really like happy when I was like, oh cool, there's these amazing shots and I can actually see what they look like. You know, I'm not planning on sort of selling Carl Villar's prints, but like being able to see like, this is what that shot looked like in camera, and then seeing his editing process helps you find, you know, shots that you might not have seen otherwise. So I find that creates a lot of transparency, you know, other courses don't necessarily have.
There are no YouTube tutorials teaching this sort of stuff because I figured it out from hundreds of hours of staring at a photo, like, how do I get that red in the skin tones? Like, how do I do that?
I thought your story was really interesting, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Like, your camera was bust.
That was painful.
You sort of, yeah. I mean, I have some respect to you for doing that. So, actually nice to speak to the mastermind behind the course as well. So that's when you speak to people when they're like human beings and just nice people. So
yeah, no, same goes.
You paid for my course now, fuck off.
No, it's really good to hear from students and they're actually like getting what I think I'm teaching.
Is it a watershed moment? I can't remember the actual.
A watershed light bulb moment. A watershed.
Yeah, I really look forward to seeing other stuff, and I hope I've given you something.
Yeah, there'll be like heaps of good little clips there I can chuck in at the end of my YouTube videos or something like that.
And thanks for the idea about the kind of